On Memorial Day, his entire platoon died, along with his best friend, and he's the only one who survived.
His entire platoon died on Memorial Day?
Right. And so he, it's interesting because he did think, like, why was I the only one who survived? And also, he felt he had to live life to the fullest because of that happening. What happened was there was single file going next to a hill.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, the entire side of the hill seemed to rise about 50 feet. And there was a tremendous explosion with rocks and dirt. And all the air it was impossible to see. And he was thrown forward. And when he was thrown forward, his rifle went off. And then what happened is when he woke up, everyone was buried alive.
Oh.
And the person in front of him, he and the person in front of him were buried up to his neck. And then what the Japanese did is to make sure that everyone died, they start shelling mortars. So now the mortars are out shelling, and he's buried. And
so he can't move, he can't escape or anything. He's buried up to his neck, and they're throwing mortars at him.
Right.
Okay. Wow.
And then also everyone in front of him is buried alive. Totally buried alive. That morning, they got a new lieutenant. And the lieutenant came to every foxhole and shook everyone's hand. And my dad said, he never shook a lieutenant's hand before. And this guy was like gung-ho and positive and, hi, I'm your new lieutenant. Nice to meet you, and smiles. And he lasted 2 hours.
Wow.
And he was decapitated.
Just unbelievable. So this is like the first time that he faced death, but this was on Memorial Day.
Oh, yeah, and it was on Memorial Day. What happened was 4 Marines went in to see if anyone was alive.
Mm-hmm.
So Marines go in, they risk their life to go in to help save other people. Like that alone is just so, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So they go in and they see my dad's alive, and they start unburying him. My dad goes, look, I'm okay. I'm okay. Get Bobby, because Bobby was his best friend.
Yeah.
And what happened was, when he fell forward, they all had their safeties off because they were anticipating fire. They were looking to see where the next.
The rifles were ready to fire. Absolutely.
Right. So, but when the explosion happened, he was thrown, and his rifle went off and hit his best friend.
Oh.
So it's just
he inadvertently killed his best friend with friendly fire. Right. Oh man.
Right.
Can't even imagine.
Because the explosion was so huge.
Yeah.
That happened. And then all his friends died. And then when the Marines came in to see if everyone was okay, my dad was there, they said, get Bobby. And then they realized that he's dead. And so then they said, my dad was just in shock. And then there was one guy behind him, and they put him on a stretcher, and the Marine said, let's get out of here. And so my dad, he goes, I'm fine. And he just walked back to the base. And he said he couldn't care less if he lived or died at that point. And he said he walked back to the base, and there was fire going whizzing right by him. Like just he could literally feel the bullets whizzing right by them, and he wasn't hit.
Well, there's the old saying, Elaine, when your time's up, your time's up. And if it's not, it's not. And Roy Wilkes' time was obviously not up yet, in spite of everything that was going on around him. You said the whole platoon that he was with was killed except for him.
Right. And you know what is interesting is right before the explosion happened, my dad heard an inner voice say, stop. And so he stopped, and 2 seconds later, the explosion happened.
So if he'd been another few feet in front of where he was, he might have been buried alive.
No, he definitely would have been buried alive.
Yeah.
So he stopped.
Go ahead.
And because he stopped, he survived. So what is that voice like? What is that?
Well, some people would say God, Elaine.
Right, exactly. So he was a very religious person.
One of the things that struck me about your email was the quote from Roy Wilkes, your father, when he talks about the Grim Reaper.
Right.
The Grim Reaper missed me. The damn bastard had a close-up swing at me on different occasions, 6 different occasions, and missed. How would you say this book? How would you say this book inspires people who are going through what they think are tough times right now, Elaine?
When you hear the stories, they're horrific. 250,000 people died, and 200,000 of them were unburied. There were dead bodies everywhere. My dad said it was interesting because when you have dead bodies all piled up on the beach, that they would still get tan and burn and bloat with the water, and the smell was horrendous. Your food tasted like dead bodies. So he went through terrible, like these horrible times. And what he did was he trained his mind. He always said, I reserved my mind for higher level thinking. So he never, when he, at the end of his life, became paralyzed, he never once went into like, why did this happen? I can't believe this happened. This is terrible. And the caregivers couldn't believe it. He would be like, okay, let's get up and see if I can move. Let's move my legs. Let's start moving my legs. Let me see if I could stand. I stood 60 seconds last time. Let me see if I can stand 61 seconds. What he was an inspiration. And when you go through hard times, it all is how you look at the hard times. He never once felt sorry for himself. He just thought, okay, what can I do to make this day a good day? What can I do to better myself? What can I do, to have fun today? So in that sense, that's what's so inspiring about it, is it's resilience. It's called Luck and Resilience are in the subtitle, because that's what you need, especially now during these times.
I agree.
It's all how he looked at life.
So this is available on Amazon, Elaine?
Yeah.
War is Personal, Hell, Luck, and Resilience, a World War II combat Marines accounts of Okinawa and China. Roy Wilkes, what a great man.
Thank you so much.
What a great story. I hope people are inspired by the book. I know that's why you wrote it, and the collection of your father's stories of dodging death, literally, on Memorial Day. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you so much. Take care.
All right.